Admiral Zorik stood in the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Imperial Fleet. His purple scales had lost their shine. His 3 eyes blinked slowly from exhaustion. He had barely escaped the Sol system with his small scout ship. The chamber was huge, with tall golden pillars reaching up to a ceiling painted with the conquest stories of the Empire. 200 council members sat in rising circles around him. At the center, on a floating throne, sat Emperor Valkos, ruler of 10,000 worlds. "Speak, Admiral," the Emperor said. His voice was deep and echoed through the quiet chamber. "Tell us of this new world you found." Zorix took a deep breath. "Your Majesty, we found a blue planet in a small yellow star system. The locals call it Earth. The humans who live there seem primitive. They have only basic space travel. They have only reached their own moon. Their weapons are simple. Their cities are not very advanced." The Emperor looked bored already. He had heard this story many times before. The Empire found new worlds every day. "So why do you look so worried, Admiral? This sounds like an easy conquest." Zorix's middle eye widened. "That is what troubles me, Your Majesty. At first glance, they seem easy to conquer. But there is something strange about these humans." The council room grew quiet. Zorix raised his hand and a screen appeared above the chamber floor. It showed images of Earth, blue oceans, green and brown land, swirling white clouds. Their planet is unusual. It has many different environments. Hot deserts, frozen mountains, thick forests, wide oceans. The weather changes all the time. The planet itself is always changing. The screen showed humans in different places, building cities, farming land, sailing on oceans, climbing mountains, and the humans have adapted to all of it. They live everywhere, on their planet. They change their surroundings to suit them, and they change themselves to suit their surroundings. The Emperor waved his hand. "Many species adapt, Admiral." "Not like this, Your Majesty," Zorix said firmly. "When we watched them, they spotted our ship despite our cloaking technology. No primitive world has ever detected our scout ships before." Murmurs spread through the council chamber. This was unusual. Within days, they had built new tracking systems specifically to find us. When we moved our ship, they improved their tracking. When we changed our cloaking, they adjusted their sensors. We stayed only 2 weeks, and in that time, they went from not knowing we existed to nearly capturing our scout ship. General Drath, the Emperor's top military advisor, stepped forward. "How did primitives nearly capture an Imperial vessel?" Zorix looked down. This was the most shameful part of his report. "They built a small ship to chase us. It was crude but fast. We underestimated them. They followed us to the edge of their system. They learned from watching us. They copied some of our movement patterns. Each time we thought we lost them, they came back with a new approach." The screen changed to show a simple Earth ship. It looked like nothing special to the council members. We finally escaped, but they recovered pieces of our ship that had broken off during our rapid exit. They were already studying the pieces as we left. The Emperor leaned forward on his throne. "And what is your conclusion, Admiral?" "Earth is a trap, Your Majesty," Zorix said firmly. "Not because they planned it that way. They are the trap. These humans adapt faster than any species we have ever seen. They learn too quickly. They change too easily. In my opinion, we should mark their system as dangerous and stay away." Laughter broke out in the council chamber. General Drath looked at Zorix with pity. "Admiral, your scout ship was nearly caught by primitives, so now you fear them? The Empire has conquered worlds with far more advanced technology than Earth." Emperor Valkos raised a hand and the laughter stopped. "Admiral Zorix has always been a careful and loyal officer. If he fears these humans, there must be some reason." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Zorix said with a bow. "I do not suggest we fear them now. I suggest we avoid them so we never need to. Fear them in the future. There is something different about how their minds work. They see a problem and immediately create many possible solutions. Most species, including us, perfect one solution over time. Humans try many approaches at once." The Emperor thought for a moment. Then he smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "All the more reason to deal with them now, while they are still primitive. If they are as adaptable as you say, they might become a problem later. General Drath nodded eagerly. A small conquest fleet should be enough. 50 warships at most. No, Zorik said, forgetting himself. The council gasped at his outburst. Forgive me, Your Majesty, but if we attack them, we will either need to destroy their planet completely or be prepared for a very difficult fight. They will learn from each attack. They will adapt to our weapons. They will find our weaknesses. The Emperor's smile faded. You are dismissed, Admiral. The Council will discuss your report in private. On Earth, Navy Lieutenant Alan Carter stood in a briefing room at the Pentagon. Maps and screens covered the walls. 10 high-ranking military officers sat at a long table staring at him with wide eyes. You're certain it was an alien spacecraft? General Matthews asked. Her voice was calm, but her hands gripped her coffee cup tightly. Yes, ma'am, Carter said, firmly. No human ship could move like that. The craft used technology we've never seen before. But our new tracking system worked. We followed them to the edge of the solar system. And they ran from us? Admiral Jones asked, sounding surprised. Yes, sir. They seemed shocked that we could track them. Each time they changed course or used some new trick, our team adjusted our approach. We managed to recover some debris when they accelerated quickly near Mars. Dr. Harris, the lead scientist, spread photos on the table. They showed strange metal pieces with an odd purple glow. The material isn't like anything we've seen, Dr. Harris explained. It's already teaching us so much. We've got teams analyzing it around the clock. General Matthews stood up. Lieutenant Carter, your team did excellent work, but we need to prepare. These aliens know we're here now. They know we detected them. They'll be back, and next time, they might not just be watching. Carter nodded. The good news is that they seem surprised by us. Whatever these aliens expected, it wasn't what they found. That might give us an advantage. Admiral Jones looked at the photos of the alien debris. We need to move fast. Share this technology with all our allies. Get every scientist working on defenses. If they come back hostile, we need to be ready. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Valkos signed the order. The conquest of Earth would begin in 6 months. Admiral Zorix's warning was filed away and forgotten. General Drath would lead 50 warships to the small blue planet. These humans will make a simple addition to our empire, the Emperor said as he signed. General Drath bowed. As all primitives, do, Your Majesty. Behind them, Admiral Zorix watched silently. He believed the Empire had just made a terrible mistake. Earth was not just another world to conquer. The humans were not just another species to rule. Earth was a trap, and the Empire was walking right into it. 6 months passed on Earth. The debris from the alien ship had taught humans many things. Scientists around the world worked together. They learned about new metals, new energy sources, and new ways to travel in space. Every country shared information. For the first time, the whole world had one goal: prepare for the aliens to return. In her lab at MIT, Susan Miller stared at a small piece of purple metal. It glowed softly under the lights. Susan was a physicist who had been studying the alien technology day and night. It absorbs energy, she said to her team. Any kind of energy, heat, light, even the energy from our weapons. Her assistant Greg looked worried. So their ships can't be damaged? Susan smiled. Every system has limits. This metal absorbs energy, but then it has to release it somehow. If we can force it to absorb too much too quickly. Across the ocean, in London, engineer Richard Lee had discovered something else. The alien ship parts had tiny machines inside them. These machines could rebuild damaged parts. Richard's team had found a way to confuse these tiny machines. They could make them rebuild things incorrectly. In space, humans launched new satellites. These satellites carried sensors designed to detect the same energy signals they had seen from the first alien ship. Early warning was their best hope. In military bases, soldiers trained with new weapons. Scientists had used the alien technology to improve Earth's defenses. They weren't as good as alien weapons, but they were better than before. Lieutenant Alan Carter, now promoted to captain, led a team testing new space fighters. The small ships used some alien technology. They were faster than anything humans had built before. They won't expect us to learn so quickly, Carter told his pilots. That will be our advantage. In the great emptiness of space, Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his massive ship. 50 Imperial warships followed behind him. Each one was the size of a small city. Each one carried thousands of soldiers and hundreds of smaller fighting ships. The fleet had conquered hundreds of worlds before. Earth would be no different. How long until we reach the human world? Vex asked. His officer checked the screens. 3 Earth days, Commander. Vex nodded. He had studied the reports from Admiral Zorix. The Admiral had seemed afraid of these humans. Vex thought this was foolish. Yes, they had detected a small scout ship, but now they would face the full might of an Imperial conquest fleet. Have the scientists studied the humans more? Vex asked. Another officer stepped forward. Yes, Commander. We have been watching them from a distance. They are primitive, but they are working hard to prepare for us. They have improved their technology since Admiral Zorix's visit. Improved how much? More than expected, sir. They have used parts from our scout ship to make better weapons and sensors. They are quick learners. Vex laughed. Learning quickly will not save them from 50 warships. Prepare the soldiers. We will land in their major cities. Once we control their leaders, the rest will surrender. On Earth, the early warning system suddenly lit up. Alarms sounded in military bases around the world. In the United Nations building in New York, world leaders gathered in an emergency meeting. General Matthews stood before them. On the big screen behind her, 50 huge dots moved toward Earth. They're coming, she said simply. And there are many of them. President Clark of the United States stood up. Are we ready? General Matthews looked serious. As ready as we can be after 6 months. Susan Miller's team has made shields that might help against their weapons. Richard Lee has created viruses that might affect their computers. Our new weapons might hurt their ships, but we don't know for sure. And if none of it works? Asked the Russian president. Then we fight anyway, General Matthews said. We learn from each battle. We adapt. We survive. In his lab in Tokyo, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka watched the dots on the screen move closer to Earth. His team had been studying how the aliens communicated. They had created a translation system. We should try to talk to them, he told President Clark on the video call. Maybe they don't want war. President Clark nodded. Send the message on all channels, but we keep preparing for the worst. Commander, Vex was surprised when his communication officer reported a message from Earth. They are asking for peaceful contact, sir, the officer said. They say they wish to learn from us and share knowledge. Vex smiled. They are afraid, as they should be. Tell them their world now belongs to the Empire. They can surrender and serve as subjects, or they can resist and be destroyed. The officer sent the message. A few minutes later, the humans replied. They say they will not surrender, sir. Vex nodded. As expected. Foolish, but expected. Prepare all weapons. Target their largest cities first. The Imperial fleet entered Earth orbit. The massive ships blocked out the sun in some places, casting long shadows on the ground below. People looked up in fear. The ships were huge like metal mountains in the sky. Then the ships fired. Beams of bright energy shot toward major cities around the world. People screamed and ran. This was the end. But then something surprising happened. Just before the beams hit, shields appeared above the cities. The shields were made of glowing blue energy. They caught the alien weapon's fire and held it. On his ship, Commander Vex stood up in shock. Impossible! They cannot have shield technology! His science officer looked equally shocked. Sir, they've adapted our own technology. The shields are crude, but they're working. Vex growled in anger. Keep firing. Their shields cannot hold forever. The D. Imperial ships fired again and again. The shields began to weaken. Some started to fail. Land the troops now, Vex ordered. Take the cities. Capture their leaders. Thousands of smaller ships left the big warships. They flew down to Earth carrying soldiers. The soldiers were tall with purple skin and advanced weapons. They wore armor that blocked human bullets. In Washington, D.C., Captain Frank Martinez led his Marine unit against the alien soldiers. The aliens were strong and their weapons were powerful, but they moved in perfect formations. They never changed their tactics. They fight like machines, Martinez told his soldiers through the radio. They don't adapt. Use that against them. The Marines didn't fight in open fields. They used the city itself as a weapon. They set traps. They attacked, then disappeared into buildings. They changed tactics constantly, and the aliens didn't adjust. They kept using the same movements, the same attacks. They were well-trained, but they weren't creative. In his command center, Commander Vex received troubling reports. His troops were taking more losses than expected. The humans were not fighting like a primitive species. They were fighting like clever animals, changing and adapting with each battle. These humans, he said quietly, remembering Admiral Zorix's warning. They learn too quickly. They adapt too easily. For the first time, Commander Vex felt a touch of worry. The conquest of Earth might not be as simple as he had thought. 6 months into the invasion, the war had changed. At first, the aliens had the advantage. Their ships were bigger. Their weapons were stronger. But humans learned quickly. Each battle taught them something new about how the aliens fought. In a hidden base beneath the Rocky Mountains, engineer Jack Wilson stood looking at an alien ship. His team had captured it 3 months ago. Since then, they had taken it apart, studied it, and put it back together. The aliens use the same designs they've used for thousands of years, Jack explained to General Patricia Howard. They don't change anything. They don't improve anything. The general walked around the ship. It was sleek and purple with strange writing on the side. And you fixed it? Jack smiled. We've done more than fix it. We've made it better. Their engines waste a lot of energy. We've made them 20% more efficient. Their weapons take too long to reload. We've fixed that too. General Howard looked impressed. How many ships like this do we have now? 10, Jack said. And we're building more every day. The Chinese have built 15. The Europeans have 12. We're sharing all our improvements with each other. High above Earth, the International Space Station had changed too. Before the invasion, it had been a place for scientific research. Now, it was a battle station. Engineers had added weapons and shields made from alien technology. Commander Olivia Garcia looked out the window at Earth below. Status report, she said to her crew. All weapons ready, replied her weapons officer. Shield strength at 100%. Olivia nodded. 6 months ago, they had been scientists and researchers. Now they were soldiers fighting for Earth. On the main screen, she could see the alien fleet. There were fewer ships now. Humans had destroyed 5 of them. The rest stayed in high orbit, afraid to come too close to Earth's new defenses. They're planning something, Olivia said. They've been too quiet lately. On his command ship, Commander Vex was angry. The invasion was failing. His ground troops were being defeated everywhere. Humans were using the aliens' own weapons against them. They had even captured some Imperial ships. How is this possible? He shouted at his officers. They were primitives. How have they advanced? So quickly? His science officer looked nervous. Sir, they learn faster than any species we've seen before. They don't just use our technology. They improve it. They find the flaws we never noticed. Vex hit his fist on the table. The Emperor demands results. We must take this planet. Then we need a new strategy, said his second-in-command. Our normal tactics aren't working. Vex thought for a moment. We will attack all major cities at once. Full power. No more holding back. We will break their will to fight. On Earth, in the United Nations Emergency Command Center, world leaders watched the alien fleet with worry. Their spies had learned the aliens' language months ago. They had been listening to the aliens' communications. They're planning a full attack, President Clark told the other leaders. All cities at once. The Russian president looked grim. Are we ready? Susan Miller stood up. Her shield technology had saved many lives already. We've improved the shields. They're stronger now, but they won't hold forever against a full attack. Richard Lee, the engineer from London, had news too. We've created a computer virus. If we can get it into their main systems, it will confuse their weapons targeting. But we need to get close to their command ship. Captain Alan Carter, now commanding Earth's new space fighters, spoke next. My pilots can get close enough. We've been studying their flight patterns. We know how they think. President Clark looked at each of them. Then we have a plan. We defend our cities with the shields. We launch a small attack to plant the virus, and we prepare for a counterattack with our new ships. The next day, the alien fleet moved. All 50 warships spread out over Earth's major cities. On his command ship, Vex gave the order. Fire all weapons. The sky lit up as energy beams shot toward Earth. In cities around the world, people watched as the blue shields activated above them. The shields caught the alien fire. They held, but they started to weaken quickly. In Washington, D.C., the shield was failing. Captain Frank Martinez watched from a rooftop as cracks appeared in the blue energy above. We need more time, he said, into his radio. In space, Commander Olivia Garcia gave the order. Launch fighters now. From the space station and from hidden bases on Earth, hundreds of small ships took off. They were a mix of human and alien technology. They flew toward the Imperial fleet in attack formation. Commander Vex saw them coming. Ridiculous, their small ships cannot hurt us. But these weren't normal attacks. The Earth fighters didn't try to destroy the big alien ships. Instead, they targeted specific points. They fired at communication antennas and sensor arrays. They were following a plan. One ship, piloted by Captain Carter, flew directly toward Vex's command ship. It dodged the defensive fire and got very close to the ship's main computer core. Now, Carter said to his co-pilot. They fired a special missile. It didn't explode. Instead, it attached to the ship's hull and sent the computer virus into the alien systems. On his bridge, Vex watched in horror as his screens went blank. What's happening? His officers worked frantically at their stations. Some kind of computer attack, sir. It's spreading through all systems. Across the fleet, the same thing was happening. Weapons stopped firing. Shields weakened. Communication systems failed. And then, from behind Earth's moon, a new fleet appeared. 30 ships built by humans using captured alien technology. They weren't as big as the Imperial ships, but they were fast and their weapons were focused on the aliens' weak points. Leading this fleet was a ship called Defiance. It had been built in secret, combining the best of human and alien technology. General Matthews commanded it. Target their engines and weapon systems, she ordered. Disable, don't destroy. The battle that followed shocked the Imperial fleet. The human ships moved in ways the aliens had never seen before. They didn't follow standard attack patterns. Each ship seemed to fight in its own way, adapting to whatever the aliens did. On his damaged command ship, Commander Vex watched his fleet being defeated. Retreat, he ordered. All ships retreat. The Imperial ships, those that could still move, began to leave Earth orbit. They had lost 12 more ships. The rest were damaged. Vex looked at Earth through his viewing screen. Admiral Zorix was right, he said quietly. This planet is a trap, not because they planned it, but because of what they are. They adapt too quickly. They learn too fast. His communication officer turned to him. Sir, the Emperor is calling. He wants a report on our conquest. Vex took a deep breath. He would have to tell the Emperor that the mighty Imperial fleet had been defeated by a species that had barely been in space 6 months ago. On Earth, people celebrated their victory. But world leaders knew this wasn't the end. The aliens would be back with more ships and new tactics. But now humans had time to prepare. They had alien technology. They had new ships of their own. Most importantly, they had learned that they could win. They could face the stars and whatever came from them. Humanity had faced its first great test and they had passed. They had done what the aliens thought was impossible. They had adapted. They had survived. And next time, they would be ready. 3 years passed since the first invasion. Earth had changed. Countries that once fought each other now worked together. The Earth Defense Council led the planet, with military and civilian leaders from every major nation working as one team. In a way, San Francisco, now rebuilt with a mix of human and alien design, scientist Nicole Banks led the Xenobiology Research Center. Her team studied the aliens themselves, not just their technology. "We have mapped their genetic code," she told the council during a meeting. "The Imperials evolved on planets with very stable conditions. They are perfectly adapted to specific environments, but they struggle with change." President Clark nodded. "That explains a lot about how they fight." "Yes," Nicole continued. "Their biology affects their thinking. They plan one perfect solution and stick to it. They don't create backup plans. They don't adapt well to surprises." Admiral Peter Wright, who had once been a Navy commander, showed the council images of Earth's new defense fleet. "We now have 50 ships built using improved Imperial technology. We designed them differently than the aliens would. Their ships are big and powerful, but slow to change course. Ours are smaller, faster, and more flexible." The council reviewed the defense plans. After the failed invasion, the aliens had retreated. But everyone knew they would return. The Empire ruled 10,000 worlds. They would not accept defeat. In deep space, Imperial War Master Drax stood on the bridge of his massive ship. The Emperor had given him a special mission: conquer Earth at any cost. His fleet was the largest the Empire had ever sent to one planet. 500 warships, each one bigger and more powerful than those in the first invasion. "Tell me about these humans," Drax said to his advisors. His chief scientist showed him reports and images of Earth. "They advance quickly, War Master. In just 3 years since our first contact, they have built ships using our technology. They have improved our designs in ways we never considered." "How is this possible?" Drax asked. "They were primitives. Their planet is unusual," the scientist explained. "It changes constantly. Its climate shifts. Its continents move. The humans evolved to adapt to these changes. They see problems differently than we do." Drax considered this information. "Then we must overwhelm them with force. They cannot adapt if they are destroyed completely." The massive Imperial fleet began its journey to Earth. It would take them 2 months to reach the Sol system. On Earth, the early warning system detected the fleet's movement. The council called an emergency meeting. "This fleet is 10 times larger than the first one," Admiral Wright told them. "We have improved our defenses, but we cannot fight this many ships directly." Susan Miller, now the head of Earth's Shield Technology Division, had news. "We have created a new planetary shield. It can protect the whole planet, not just individual cities. But it will only last for a few days against so many ships." Richard Lee, who led the technology division, added, "We have also improved our computer viruses, but the Empire has likely fixed the weaknesses we used last time." Captain Frank Martinez, now a general in charge of ground forces, spoke next. "If they land troops, we will fight them street by street if needed, but the cost would be high." Captain Alan Carter, who commanded the Earth fighter fleet, had another idea. "We've been studying their tactics for 3 years. They always follow the same patterns. They never expect the unexpected. What if we do something completely unpredictable?" The council listened as Carter explained his plan. It was risky, but it might work. The humans would use the aliens' biggest weakness against them: their inability to adapt to the unexpected. 2 months later, Imperial War Master Drax's fleet entered the Sol system. His ships moved toward Earth in perfect formation. On his command ship, Drax sent a message to the planet: "Surrender your world or be destroyed." The answer came quickly: "We will not surrender. Earth is our home." Drax smiled. He had expected this. Begin the attack. The Imperial ships opened fire on Earth. Energy beams stronger than anything seen before hit the planet's new shield. The blue energy barrier surrounding Earth absorbed the attack, but it began to weaken immediately. "Their shield will fail in hours," Drax's science officer reported. "Then nothing will protect them." But as the Imperial fleet focused on Earth, something unexpected happened. From behind Mars, a small fleet of human ships appeared. There were only 50 of them, facing 500 Imperial warships. It seemed like suicide. A desperate last attack. Drax said, watching them approach. Brave but foolish. The human ships didn't attack the Imperial fleet directly. Instead, they fired strange devices toward the alien ships. These devices weren't weapons. They didn't explode or damage the ships. They simply attached to the hulls. What are they doing? Drax asked, confused. Suddenly, his ship's engines increased power. But no one had ordered this. Other ships in the fleet reported the same problem. Their engines were activating on their own. Their weapons were powering down. "We've been hacked," his technology officer shouted. "They've taken control of our ships." The devices the humans had fired contained advanced versions of Richard Lee's computer viruses. They were taking over the Imperial ship's systems, not to destroy them but to control them. Across the fleet, ships began to move in strange patterns. Some flew away from Earth, others turned their weapons toward fellow Imperial ships. Drax watched in horror as his perfect formation fell apart. "How is this possible? Our computer security was improved after the last attack." His science officer looked pale. "They didn't attack the same way twice. They found a new method. They adapted. We didn't." A message came through from Earth. It showed President Clark standing with the Earth Defense Council. "War Master Drax," Clark said, "your ships are now under our partial control. We don't want to destroy them. We don't want to kill your crews. We offer you a choice. Leave our system and never return, or lose your entire fleet." Drax couldn't believe what was happening. The mighty Imperial fleet, defeated not by force, but by the humans' ability to think differently, to adapt, to change. "This is impossible," he whispered. A new face appeared on his screen. It was Admiral Zorix, who had been called from exile to join Drax's fleet. "I warned the Emperor," Zorix said quietly. "Earth is not just a planet. It is a crucible that forged these humans into something the Empire has never faced before." Drax made his decision. "Send the message. We accept their terms." As the Imperial fleet prepared to leave the Sol system, Drax looked at Earth one more time, a small blue planet that had defeated the Empire twice. "The Emperor will not be pleased," he said. Admiral Zorix nodded. "No, but perhaps he will finally understand. Earth is indeed a trap, but not in the way we thought. The trap is in how these humans think, how they adapt, how they turn our strength into weakness. The Imperial fleet left, but they left behind diplomatic ships. For the first time in its long history, the Galactic Empire would negotiate with a species instead of conquering them. Earth had won not just a battle, but recognition. Humanity had shown the stars that they were ready to join the galactic community, not as subjects, but as equals. 1 month after the second invasion attempt, representatives from Earth and the Galactic Empire met on a neutral space station built halfway between Earth and Mars. The station had been constructed quickly, using both human and alien technology. President Me, Laura Reeves, who had replaced President Clark, led the Earth delegation. War Master Drax represented the Empire. Admiral Zorix stood beside him, finally respected for his early warnings about Earth. The meeting room was simple. A long table separated the two groups. Through the windows, both Earth and Mars were visible as small, colored dots against the blackness of space. "We could have destroyed all your ships," President Reeves said calmly. "Why didn't you destroy our planet from a distance when you had the chance?" War Master Drax studied the human leader with interest. "Curiosity," he admitted. "In 10,000 years of Imperial history, no species has ever fought us as you have. We need to understand why. And now you do," Reeves said. "Humans don't fear the unknown. We explore it. We don't resist change, we embrace it. If you had continued this war, we wouldn't just defend Earth. We would have taken the fight to every corner of your empire." "Is that a threat?" Drax asked. "No," Reeves said. "It's simply what humans do. We adapt, we grow, we expand our horizons. It's our nature." Admiral Zorix stepped forward. "She speaks the truth, War Master. Look at what they've accomplished in just 3 years." On a screen between them, images appeared showing Earth's progress. New cities built with a blend of human and alien design. ships that combined technologies from both worlds, weapons that had been improved far beyond their original Imperial designs. Most impressive was a new ship being built in Earth orbit. It was larger than any human ship before, but still smaller than the biggest Imperial vessels. Its design was completely different from both human and Imperial ships. The Unity, President Reeves said, our first true starship, built not to fight, but to explore. Drax looked troubled. Your people advance too quickly. The Emperor fears what you might become in 100 years, in 1,000. Admiral Zorix had a different view, or what we might learn from them. The Empire has used the same designs for millennia. We perfect one approach and never change it. These humans could teach us to see things differently. On Earth, in cities around the world, people watched the negotiations on screens in homes, schools, and public places. The once secret knowledge of alien life was now common. Children learned about Imperial history in school. Scientists studied alien biology. Engineers improved alien technology. In a research lab in New Delhi, scientists examined the alien genetic code. Unlike humans, whose DNA showed signs of constant adaptation to changing conditions, the aliens' genetic structure was remarkably stable. They had evolved on planets with very little change or challenge. They are perfectly adapted to stable environments, one scientist explained to a group of students. But perfect adaptation to one environment means less flexibility when conditions change. In London, engineers studied the Empire's technology. They found it was incredibly efficient for its designed purpose, but it was also rigid. It couldn't be easily changed for new situations. They build perfect tools for specific jobs, an engineer told her team. We build tools that can be used for many jobs, even ones we haven't thought of yet. Back on the space station, the negotiations continued. Both sides had demands. Earth wanted access to Imperial star maps and technology. The Empire wanted assurance that humans wouldn't spread too quickly among the stars. Earth is indeed a trap, Drax finally said. Not because you planned it that way, but because your very nature makes you dangerous. You turn problems into opportunities. You find a way forward no matter the obstacle. President Reeves nodded. That is who we are, but it doesn't have to be dangerous to you. We don't want war. We want to learn and grow. We want to be partners, not enemies. Drax considered her words. On a nearby screen, he could see that human engineers had already begun studying the Imperial diplomatic vessels. They were probably finding ways to improve them even now. The Empire has never had partners, Drax said. Only rulers and subjects. Then perhaps it's time for the Empire to adapt too, Admiral Zorix suggested. These humans will change the galaxy whether we want them to or not. Better to have them as friends than enemies. After 7 days of talks, a treaty was signed. Earth would be recognized as an independent world, neither subject to the Empire nor enemy of it. Humans would gain limited access to Imperial star maps. The Empire would gain access to human innovation. Most importantly, humans would be allowed to establish colonies on uninhabited worlds near the Sol system. They would join the galactic community not as conquered subjects but as a new independent power. As the Imperial delegation prepared to leave, Admiral Zorix stood at a window, looking at distant Earth. They will change everything, he said quietly, to Drax. The trap has been sprung, but not as we feared. They will transform the Empire, the galaxy, and perhaps that is what we need. Drax nodded slowly. The Emperor will not be pleased at first, but even he must adapt to this new reality. On Earth, celebration filled the streets of every city. Humanity had not just survived first contact with an alien civilization. They had earned respect from a galactic power thousands of years more advanced. In a classroom in Kenya, a teacher asked her young students a question. Why did we win against the Empire when they had better ships and weapons? A small boy raised his hand. Because they stayed the same and we kept changing. They thought they were perfect already, but we knew we could always get better. The teacher smiled. Yes. And that is the most important lesson. Never think you are perfect. Never stop learning. Never stop adapting. As the Imperial ships departed the Sol system, leaving behind diplomats and trade representatives, Earth turned its eyes to the stars with new purpose. The Galactic Empire had ruled for 10,000 years by staying the same. Humanity would make its mark on the galaxy by embracing change. The trap, as it turned out, had been laid not by humans, but by evolution itself. It had created a species that turned obstacles into opportunities, that saw problems as puzzles to solve, that never accepted impossible as an answer. And the galaxy would never be the same.